Hey guys, welcome to FunNGun. Got a gun here I was pretty excited to get my hands on here. And if you've actually seen my video on the TSOS Night Stalker here, I actually mentioned that I would like to get a chance to mess with one of these M.A.C double stack 1911s, and I just so happened to find out that my buddy Jamie that owns the TSOS there also had the M.A.C here, so I went ahead and borrowed it to go ahead and do the video on here and kind of compare it a little bit to the TSOS here, since they are rough with the same gun, as we'll get into in a second. So we're going to start off here by first showing you that the gun is unloaded. I'm going to go ahead and drop the magazine out of this gun here and show you that what relates these guns is the fact that they are all made by the same people. As you can see there, the magazine is branded TSOS. These are the exact same magazines that are in the TSOS there. I actually used a lot of the magazines from the TSOS in this while I was shooting it. So same magazines. They're well-made magazines. They're all stainless steel, except for obviously your follower and your base plate. But the body's all stainless steel is what I mean. And the only thing I'd like to see is I would have preferred to have all the rounds count down the back of it, or at least more than just 17, 10, and 5, because once you get in between there, you don't exactly know how many rounds you have, but at least it shows something there. So definitely nice magazines, and the cool thing is these magazines interchange with something such as a Staccato or a Prodigy, so got plenty of magazine options out there of different capacities as well. So that's the magazine, and let's go ahead and go over a little bit what you get with this particular gun. You're obviously going to get the paperwork. You get a nice cleaning brush. I do like using these. Actually, I keep one of them soaked in cleaner in my cleaning kit. And the gun actually comes with the optics plate, or the optics cover here, which your rear sight is mounted to on the gun. And my buddy Jamie here has it set up the right way with the Holson 507 competition. That is my favorite dot. We'll get a little more into the way this is mounted in a second and how the sights work that are on there. You get the tools, there's some screws to mount it, extra piece fiber optic, and that is everything you get with the gun. Well, one more thing while I'm thinking about it, you get a nice bag here, you get a second magazine, and you obviously get your lock. This is actually a bag that I wouldn't mind using as a range bag. It's actually pretty well made. So that's everything you get with the gun. So let's kind of go ahead and get into some of the features of this gun, compare it a little bit to the Night Stalker here, and we'll also compare it lightly or a little bit to this Bull in a second. Kind of, this gun falls into the same size range as the Bull there, more than it does the Night Stalker. But let's go ahead and talk about this a little bit. Some of the stuff you get. You get a nice metal mag well that is properly blended. You don't have any edges around there. It all blends together properly. And why I mentioned that is because I actually did a review on a Terran Tactical Canic the other day, and I was kind of disappointed to see when you put the mag well in there, there's a nice lip right there. It's not something you can't fix with a little bit of sandpaper, but the fact that it doesn't mount properly, even though it comes with the gun, is kind of annoying in my opinion. So properly mounted mag well, that is something you get on both guns here. Let's see. One thing that I knocked on the TSOS here, and I'm going to knock on this as well, is the fact that neither one of them has a threaded magazine release. And well, that's a big deal to me, is because I do prefer to put the larger button on there. Because the way I reload the gun with my hand size is I come down, hit the button, drop the mag, reload, and go back to shooting. So it's nice to have a larger button so you don't have to kind of look for it when you're coming down. And I feel like for probably $1 more, you could have threaded that hole, and went ahead and gave the option of putting the larger button on there. So kind of annoying that they didn't. Not a big deal, but I would have liked to have seen that. You have the exact same slide release as the TSOS variation gun here. There's a nice large slide release. It's not hard to get a hold of, so if you're ready to drop a slide, it's plenty enough there to get a hold of. And let's go ahead and talk about the trigger here. The triggers are a little different. They are the same way. They feel the same in pull weight and smoothness and all, but I do prefer the trigger shoe on the TSOS here because it has a lot shorter reach, to the point that it almost feels the same as my Bull here with the shorter trigger shoe in it. And when I put the calibers to it, it comes within like a few, like 0.5 of a millimeter difference. So I do prefer the trigger shoe in this one better. I do prefer the way the one that looks better in this one, and how the front of it is actually flat, but it does have a lot farther reach on it. And to me, it's not really a neutral position for my finger. It kind of has my finger kind of more forward. I prefer my finger to sit about right there, so when it breaks, it's closer to a 90. So it is what it is. Not a bad trigger. We'll go ahead and show you. Got just a touch of take up there, real nice and smooth on the take ups, not gritty or nothing. And you got a nice clean break there and a nice short reset. It's nice and positive. So the overall trigger feel is nice on both of these particular guns. It's just a little heavy for my likings. I would have rather seen them come in at around maybe at least the 3.5 to 3 pound range. 3.5 would have been fine, but this comes in closer to, I feel like, 5 to maybe 4.5 to 5 pounds, maybe even more. Not the lightest trigger, not a deal breaker, still works just fine, but I would have liked to see it a little lighter. If you know what you're doing, you can really tune that out and like tune that up and lighten it up, smooth it out a little bit more for free if you know how you do all the springs in there, but not my gun, not gonna mess with that. Let's see here what we're talking about, controls. You actually do have a different set of safeties on the M.A.C here than the TISOS, and it's hard to show, but the ones on the M.A.C are not quite as large. I mean, the ones on the TISOS are not quite as large as the ones on the M.A.C. You have a larger thumb wedge on both sides, and then really the biggest difference here is something I knocked this TISOS for is having a flat ledge right here. It's kind of a sharp ledge, not the most, but I feel like if you shoot enough, that could get into your hand depending on your hand shape. But the M.A.C here actually has a nice, clean looking safety on both sides. The only thing I will say about this coming down like that is I did notice when you're gripping the gun that it does feel like it could possibly pinch right here on your hand. So if you got a nice meaty hand, there's a possibility you could pinch it in between that. So while we're sitting here at this point of the gun, this is something I knocked the TISOS for as well. There's an edge right here on both sides of the frame. That's actually part of the metal, not part of the plastic. So if you do knock that off, you're gonna have to refinish it. It's just gonna have a shiny spot there. That this kind of creates a little bit of a hot spot when you're shooting the gun quite a bit. I would have liked to have seen them spend a little more time rounding that off, or just do more like they did on the bull right here and just not put an edge there at all, which would have made way more sense than having an edge. But I'm not a manufacturer. I'm not sure exactly why they went with the option of having an edge right there. And it's not as big of a deal, but you do have also kind of a sharp edge on both sides of your grip safety. And something I did notice about the grip safety while we're on the grip safety is this one feels a little bit like it's not just exactly properly fit, to the point where it almost feels like it's dragging on your polymer of the frame here. Kind of gives it a mushy feeling. And when you mess with this one, it just snaps back out. So kind of a little bit of a quality thing there, that you may get one that's real smooth, you may get one that's a little spongy. So that's kind of the comparison of the two there. Let's go ahead and show you what makes this one the one out of the 3 variations of the TISOS guns, or the M.A.C here. Still, in my book, TISOS, the lower half of the gun's very similar, and they're made in the same factory. It actually does say they're made in Turkey as well. TISOS on the bottom here, so still made by TISOS, branded M.A.C. But what makes this one a step above even the Night Stalker here? Yes, the Night Stalker is cheaper, coming in at $950 MSRP. This one coming in at $1,100. But the biggest difference here for me right away is the fact you get a full-size red dot on this gun, and this one has the micro dot. Yeah, it's cool that they get you the option of having a dot on here. That is the cheaper way of going about it, because you don't have to make the optics plate. But this one does have a pretty nice optics plate. It does come up and meet the bottom of the dot, and it looks like it's properly done. The one thing that I did notice on this variation of the gun that I kind of give it a gripe for is the fact that the factory sights here are not high enough to co-witness with the red dot. So it's kind of like, what's the point in even putting the rear sight back on there? Until I got the chance to mess with a second one of these guns the other day. And I'm going to insert some pictures right here of the rear sight, and then some pictures of the front sight. And as you can see there, they are quite a bit higher, more like a suppressor high set of sights, and they do lower co-witness perfectly fine. So this is an older gun. The one I messed with the other day is a newer gun, so my guess is they just made a rolling change and went ahead and fixed that. So it is a possibility there's probably some of them still floating in the supply chain that has the non-co-witnessing sights on them, which is kind of a bummer, but I figured I'd point that out because I thought that was kind of dumb that you have a rear sight still on there and you can't use it. Let's see here. Another thing that makes this variation of the gun, pretty awesome, is the fact that it is a bushingless bull barrel. the bushing being this part right here. That's what actually allows the slide to be fit to the barrel on the other variation of the gun, or the other more traditional 1911, and this being just fit to the slide itself, and it's very well fit. There's no jiggle in this when it's locked up. Got a little bit of movement right here when it's locked up, but this gun has functioned 100% for me, and as far as I know, my buddy as well. Now, one thing I know I've seen a lot of people complain about on multiple different guns, this goes for even this $2,000 bull here. This gun, yeah, it does cost twice as much, but it still has the point where you got to put a paper clip or something down into it to disassemble it. And the fact that Bull put it in kind of a dumb spot where it's kind of in behind the frame here and it's real hard to get to instead of being kind of up on the edge right there makes that kind of a bummer. But this one actually has a properly placed one, and I didn't see it in the bag here, but the second gun I got the chance to mess with does have a little L-shaped tool you can put down into that, so when you can disassemble it. Let's see here. I guess we'll talk about, I already mentioned the safeties being pretty nice and larger than normal, but they also are properly fit to the gun. You do got a nice snap in both positions, so the detent is set properly. Let's see. The gun, I'm not going to say it's the smoothest gun, but for the price point it's coming in, it's going to definitely, the more you shoot it, it's going to slicken up a little bit. But when you compare it to something like this, like I said, this gun is twice as much. It is also unloaded. But this gun's definitely a lot glassier, but it should be for the price difference. But really, I guess the thing I found kind of interesting here is, other than the fact I've changed a few things on this, I put the magazine release on it, the larger button, and it's ported. If you had the option of putting the larger magazine release on there, it would be, like I said, cool. So that's something you can't even just straight do with this without having to replace the whole mechanism there. But we're gonna go ahead and kind of compare the M.A.C to this Bull. Even though this gun's twice as expensive, I want to kind of cover how well I feel like this gun actually stacks up to this, and the fact that both guns do come with a optics plate cut for a Holosun or a Trijicon RMR or SRO. So they come with the right footprint, in my opinion. Anybody coming with anything else straight out of the factory, in my opinion, that's pretty stupid. I mean, that's the cut you need to come with. That's just how it is. But you get the metal mag well on the Tissos as well as the Bull. So you get the Picatinny rail underneath, and you get about the same safeties. But really, I guess what I'm getting after here is this gun costs twice as much, and you're getting roughly the same gun right here for half the price. And with a little bit of work, you can have a gun I feel like is going to compete pretty well with this Bull. Now, there's no hate on my Bull. I love this gun, but I do find it cool that they're starting to come out with the guns in the 2011 market here that are getting down in the price point where you can do custom work to them and still not can just completely break the bank. Like, I've already got over $2,000 in this the way it's set up, and if I start doing anything custom to it, if I want to, have too much stuff done to it, it's going to be a lot more expensive than obviously starting off with a cheaper gun, because I really think it would be cool to have this gun done similar to this one, have it sent off and have it ported, which this gun already had the windows in the slide. It would have been cool if they had the windows in these slides right away, so you could have them ported by somebody, or just make a ported version of this gun from the factory would be cool to see. And I do have a thumb wedge on this, which is something you can fit to this gun as well. This comes out and it's just a different slide release. If you're interested in that, it's made by a company called M.A.C. And I have a full video on my channel of that as well, and also talking about how well this gun shoots ported as well. Quite a few videos on this gun. But really, this gun, let's go ahead and set the Bull off to the side here. I do feel like this is going to end up being an extremely popular gun for the fact that it comes in even less than something such as a Springfield Prodigy. And a lot of people that buy them just turn around and send them off and have them customized right off the bat anyway. So why not start off with a gun that's cheaper, that has ran 100%. I have heard people, I've never shot a Prodigy, but most people I've heard, a lot of them had issues with them, and this gun has functioned perfectly for me so far as I know, my buddy Jamie as well. So you start off with a gun that already works, and you could work from there. And you could send this off and have somebody do up the trigger, have it ported, have them slick the action up. You could do a lot to it. You could fit different grips to it. You could have it stippled. I'm sure at some point somebody's going to make different optics plates for it, which, hey, like I said, got the best one with it already, so kind of not a big deal in my book there. But I feel like this gun's going to end up being the new Springfield Prodigy because it is cheaper. It actually functions right out of the box from what, I've heard people, like I said, don't have. But so that's why I think this gun's going to, end up being really popular, because it shoots well. You got all the features you really need right off the bat to start off with a good build, or just shoot the way it is if that's what you're going for. And you're going to enjoy it. Definitely a nice gun, and that's why I figured it'd be cool to go ahead and do a little bit of a comparison of it versus the Tiz Sauce, and kind of throw the bull in here as kind of a little bit of a comparison, just to kind of talk about how they stack up together. And I will say the Tiz Sauce here, the Night Stalker, is a nice gun, but the features you get with this M.A.C is definitely worth of paying the extra, I think $150 over the Tiz Sauce variation. Other than the fact that if you're looking to shoot a suppress, this does make an awesome suppressor host, in my opinion. Really cool gun for that. But if you're just looking for a good 2011 to start off with, I would save up the extra and get the M.A.C. And that's really all I had for you today. Okay, if you made it this far, I just want to say thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. If you're looking for more FunNGun right now, you can click one of the 2 recommended videos there. If you're looking for more FunNGun later, you can go ahead and click that there subscribe button. I sure would appreciate it. And if you're finding me from Facebook, go ahead and click that open app button at the top to make all that a lot easier, and I'll see you next time.